Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming. I ran through these slides yesterday, and the total time was like more than an hour. So I'm gonna have to talk like a bit quicker just to get through everything, and maybe skip some stuff here and there. So at the end, if you have any questions on anything that I skipped, just feel free to ask. Okay, let's begin. Hello, everyone. My name's Hafiz. I'm from 70 Feet Games. How many of you have heard of Rhythm Doctor before? Oh, cool. Okay, thank you. I'm glad you know. How many of you have played Rhythm Doctor before? Appreciate it. Okay, so I'm going to talk about how Rhythm Doctor started and why it's taken 14 years to release. Like, it literally just released 4 months ago, like the final version. And I'm going to go through the entire journey. I'm going to split this into 3 sections. While I was in uni, while we were working towards early access, and then also after early access towards final release. In between each section, there'll be a chance for you to ask questions. Yeah, let's begin.
Everything in this trailer, including text and cuts, is a piece of unbroken gameplay footage. Nothing from start to end has been edited in an external program at all. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. And if you double it, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right here. When you get to this part, you hit the button. That's it. Like that. Just like that. Yeah.
All the excuses, always the same. Sometimes I'm angry, I'm not doing better than take it back to my dreams, for sunset on me.
S plus. Good job.
So Rhythm Doctor, from what you might have seen from the trailer, it's a single button rhythm game. You can play it entirely blind, and it has a powerful level editor because the entire trailer was made in the level editor itself. So instead of like making you play Rhythm Doctor, I thought maybe it'll be a good idea to give you an exercise. This is a video clip of something that's really similar to Rhythm Doctor. You have to count to 7 and clap on the 7th beat. So let's do a test run, okay? So clap on 7. I'm gonna just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, good. Play the video. So try to clap along to this. Okay, so that's basically what Rhythm Doctor is. I guess not as easy as you might expect. All you're doing is pressing on every 7th beat. Next. So gameplay is not just the buttons you press, it's everything in between. And I'll come back to this on a later slide. So this is what the talk is going to be divided into. When I was in university, when we did the early access, and at the end. At the start, we were just 2 people. Then we started to increase the number of people, and then by the end, we had about 11. Okay, so we'll start by when I was in university. This is what the level select is right now. And this is what it was at the very start. This is like Windows 7, I think, back in 2011. No art yet. So I was working in Flash Develop, if you like making Flash games so long ago. And this was what the first prototype looked like. So the idea was just, you press space on the 7th beat of each row, and each row has a different speed. So this is what the prototype looked like. You're pressing space on the 7th beat of each row, and each row moves 7 times. Next. Yeah, so as you can tell, super prototypey, the sound effects are horrible. It's a 2-minute experience. I sent it to my friends. Most of them were confused. They didn't know, like, what is this? So I ended up starting from there and working backwards, making easier levels in order to build up to a level where there's multiple rhythms. These were 2 games that I had just played, Rhythm Heaven and Trauma Center. Anyone know these games? So what I was doing, I was basically taking the one-button rhythm game mechanics from Rhythm Heaven, and also the setting of Trauma Center. So in Trauma Center, there are levels where like you have you're doing something, and then suddenly there's a twist, like the lights go out or something. Then you have to adapt to those twists. So that was something like I really enjoyed from that game, and I kind of combined those two to make Rhythm Doctor. I didn't have any art, so the first person I could think of was my friend Winston. He's from Kuching. He's a really good artist. He did art on our newsletter when I was the college editor, and he was the cartoonist for the newsletter. And I just asked him, like, I want to put graphics to this thing. Do you think you have time? He said, sure. I've got 2 weeks. I've got 2 weeks of summer to do some work for you. I sent him a mock-up, and this was his first time doing pixel art. He also made our logo, which was done in MS Paint, which is crazy because all the perspective stuff. That's just the kind of guy he is. And to get the nurse voice, I was in a band at the time in university, so I asked my singer G to count in Chinese, and that became the iconic motto of Rhythm Doctor. So if you know Rhythm Doctor, you probably know those sounds as well. In 2012, we released the first public release of the game. At 4 levels, was on Dropbox. Barely much planning at all. There was no Git. Like to make backups, I was just copying the entire project and making multiple copies of the folder. I posted it on this forum called TickSource in the Christmas holidays of 2012. And the feedback was really good. Like a lot of people said, I just registered just to comment on this game. It got featured on some sites, uploaded to Newgrounds, Congregate. And at the time, I was busy with the university, of course. I was going to be an engineer. So I continued with my university studies. And then the next year, I heard about the IGF, which is the Independent Game Festival held in San Francisco. So we decided, okay, let's try to do something good for that because it was free to enter. So we made a more polished build for it, and we had a few more weeks before term started to get that build out. So we made this new boss level. It's tools inspired. So in FL Studio, this is music program. There's a plugin called Grossbeat, which lets you juggle beats. And I thought that was really cool. I want to make this into a game. So I programmed a way to visually stutter the game in sync with the audio. Just by the way, I feel that there are 2 ways people get ideas. Number 1 is tools inspired, like you mess with a tool. Number 2 is media inspired, like you seeing other games or other movies and stuff. And I always feel like tools inspired things get you more original output more easily because you're not basing it off anything. You're just fiddling with something and then something comes out. So we got nominated for the best student game at the IGF. That's me and Winston with one of the judges. Eventually, we lost to this game called Risk of Rain, if you've heard of that game. But we also met Yakoma there, who offered to port the game to iOS. Someone posted on 4chan that year. It had like 500 plus replies. Like people were going crazy over this game. Anyone here use 4chan? No one admits to it. So at first it started out great. We got our first donations from this site, and I joined in to say, oh, thank you so much for donating, everyone. And then what happened was there was so much heavy traffic that Dropbox disabled the game completely. And then things turned really sour. I got called all sorts of names. I got called a Jew, N-word, and everything, because the people thought I took down the game on purpose just to ask for donations. Next. So then I stopped with 4chan after that. Also that year, someone donated $100 to the game. And it's like, no one had donated that much before. It turned out to be a CEO of a Chinese game company called Games. They wanted to make a mobile version of Rhythm Doctor and give us 20% royalties. And I asked on IGDA. So IGDA is really, like, if you don't know it, it's a really good forum. It's always good to ask people if you're not sure about deals. I asked them, like, it seems fishy, I'm not sure. What they told me I should ask for a £1,000 retainer at like just in case their point was just to steal the entire code base. And because they asked for the source code. So that's what I did. I asked for a £1,000 retainer, and we'd be advisors while finishing our degree. This is what they made. In the end, it actually didn't go anywhere. Like, it was axed because they tested it among themselves, and it didn't really perform well. In my opinion, looking back, I think it's because the core mechanic, price based on the 7-beat, is not really an interesting concept by itself. It's all about everything we were making around it. So when you kind of take one idea and do it in a completely different way, it doesn't really work. Yeah, so I want to talk a bit about improvisational game design. So during the Flash era, I was just thinking of ideas and then just like putting it in directly. And a lot of what you know about Rhythm Doctor just comes from random ideas. Like, for example, the first preset instrument in FL Studio was the Japanese koto. And therefore, I asked Winston, can you make a samurai that goes with this song? Now samurai is like one of our main characters. Or like in the second level, I was interested in the concept of the musical canon, where it's like 2 melodies that follow each other. And I thought, a boy and a girl, that kind of makes sense with that, having 2 melodies follow each other. And then Rhythm Doctor became a romance-heavy game, like has like multiple couples in it. And lastly, for the boss level, I was just playing with a tool, and then I thought, what if the boss is like a Wi-Fi jamming bacteria? That became like the main antagonist of the whole Rhythm Doctor. And it all came from just random ideas that wanted to fit to the mechanics that I was thinking of. So mechanics deciding theme is not rare in games. Like it's a very common method. Anyone know what the left game is? No. Okay. Anyone know what the right game is? Or became? Okay, next. So it became Splatoon and Donkey Kong Bonanza. So you could see they started with the mechanics. For Donkey Kong, it started with using the assets of Mario Odyssey, and then they realized, this whole throwing mechanic fits Donkey Kong much more than Mario. So this is how, like, one of the ways we've changed. Sorry, let me just check for time. Okay, this is one of the ways I've changed in the last 14 years. At the start, I was always about mechanics first. I thought, everything must start with the mechanics, and then you build a game around it. But at the end, once we had all the pieces starting coming together, you can't just keep coming up with new scenarios, new patients, because then you don't have a coherent plot. Like, if you've played Rhythm Heaven, that game actually does that. Like, every level it's a new thing. None of the mini games are connected, and that's fine for their game. But we wanted to make something which actually had a climax and a resolution. So in the end, we actually changed from mechanics first to story first. And I realized that that's okay, because the story is now taking the forefront. We don't have to, it's not so important to come up with unique original mechanics on every single level once you have the story that can kind of fill in the interestingness. So this is just, if you want to know, what making a Flash game entails, dialogue system, save system, two-player mode levels. And, I feel everything I did in this period of time, I didn't really learn that much. I learned how to make games, sure, but I didn't learn the real lessons that I could impart on you. Because it's all just making a game. Everyone, I feel it's really similar. You're just building up a skill. This is a music level design. We were just counting our hours, how many hours you spent, and this is the miscellaneous stuff, publicity, dialogue writing, and stuff. So in the end, it was about 600 hours of work, 200 hours for each code, level design, and also all this other stuff. In 2015, I finally graduated. So what do I do now? I could get a job. I applied for Microsoft. I failed. I got an offer at Gem 5, but it closed down really soon after. I could become a real doctor, because that's actually literally, I really wanted to be a doctor when I was young, so I thought maybe this is my chance, but I failed a medic interview next. So then I thought, okay, I just have to make Rhythm Doctor next. I got funding from MDEC IPCC, which really helped, because that made it sustainable to actually work on a game. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the second part. These were the tougher years for me. As I said before, I don't think I learned much. We were just two people. We were just doing things. No pressure, but this is where the pressure started to build up. The first problem I had was general insecurity. In 2011, games was just a hobby. My real role was doing my engineering degree, and all my self-worth was from the academic system. But in 2016, all my friends who graduated, making a lot of money in all these prestigious places. I had no yardstick to measure myself anymore, because I'm just making a game. No one is evaluating me. Am I good? This is the first time in my life that I was out of the school system, and I had no external way of judgment or praise or anything. So it kind of messes you up a bit. And then I ended up joining a friend's startup just to feel legit. I was like, okay, startup, I know, this feels cool. And when my parents' friend would ask me, oh, Hafiz, what are you doing after university? I'll be like, oh, I'm doing a startup, even though I was spending more time actually on Rhythm Doctor. In the end, after 4 months, I just quit the startup, because I realized I'd have to eventually choose one or the other, and I would much rather finish Rhythm Doctor. This was a conversation with Winston, and I really shouldn't have joined in the first place, I think. So in 2016, we got a grant from MDEC. This was we had to give monthly reports. Mostly the money was used to pay Yakumo. We did monthly reports and work. We thought we'd be done in 2016 next. This was the timeline we gave them at the time. It'll be a $5 game on Steam or $3 in mobile. And in 2016, we started monthly level. So this was our itch.io page. We had a donator thank you, because a lot of people were donating. We give shout outs to the, kind of like Patreon. We had newsletter signups, and we had a monthly level list. So we kind of encouraging people to sign up so that they would get access to these monthly free levels. These were what the monthly levels look like. When you try to quit, you give you a survey within the game, and then we hook it up to Game Analytics, which is this platform which gives us all of these comments in the console. So this is really useful for feedback. We can know what people like, what people didn't like. We started out with 700 subscribers, and then at the end we had about 5,000 people. This was our June report explaining what we were going to do with the monthly level. So in the end, actually, these monthly levels were really good, because fans made a Discord for it. And eventually, we hired most of our hires from Discord itself. This was me asking for advice about, because this was my first time actually being able to pay someone to work for me. So I was not familiar with how these things go, contractors. I would ask Giacomo, okay, can you do this thing? It'll take 10 hours. And he's like, okay, sure. And then in the end, it'll take 15 hours. And I would feel oh no, I don't have enough, this messes up all my budget. That's great. I don't work like that anymore. He mentioned this kind of style is really stressful as well, because things take longer than you expect. That's normal. And in the end, all of these extra refactorings and stuff that he did actually was really useful. 2017, we also started getting publishing offers. This new publisher wanted to publish us Originally it was 15%, then they said, oh, actually 30% because our first game did really well. I wasn't even sure why I was looking for a publisher, looking back. Like, I think I was just scared about the risk of failing next. So we went back and forth. Like, I asked, is there any funding, mobile revenue, China as well? Are you offering any minimum guarantee? And you can see, looking through the words, basically it means no, 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 no. So no funding, 30% of them, no minimum guarantee, must be all platforms. So I got advice, thanks to another person in the game that's expensive, that this is not a normal deal. I asked if 20% was possible, I asked about minimum guarantee. In the end, like, we just called off the deal. In the end, like, my only regret was not like just saying no from the start and not trying to negotiate. Also at the same time, another famous developer told me that our game sucks and we should stop it. So this was a game I looked up to. It was another rhythm game, like another really famous indie game. So he said Rhythm Doctor was far too simplistic to be a hit. So it made me consider whether we actually weren't good enough and that we really needed a publisher to help with the marketing. So I was like, okay, maybe I do need a publisher. So I contacted this mobile game developer, and we talked, and then they were like, okay, sure, I will give you 50-50, 25% on PC, 30,000 minimum guarantee, no funding, and also. And then I was also like, I wasn't sure whether this was good or not. I ended up talking to Nigel from Devolver to give me advice, and he said, no, that's not good. Like, I should push for more. So this is what I sent them after. This is what a crazy person would do. Basically, I was just trying to convince them that it's fair. I think it's better to take less. I think it'll be fair to all of us, and so on. Looking back, like, I don't know why I did that. Like, why am I citing other people to back me up? And most publishers are self-interested. Don't appeal to fairness, especially based on things like this that can't really be really backed up. My takeaway is that long essays rarely change minds on business deals. It's easier to just save your time and save their time. And also, it just made me seem really desperate and difficult. So I think this is one of my main lessons in the past 10 years, just learning how to think from the other side. In terms of publishing deals, back then I thought people publish because they want passionate people, they want fairness. I was arguing with one of the publishers that, if like this was a one-man publisher, I said, if you take 30%, you'll be getting 5 times more than what we get in our whole company, and that's crazy. But like, he doesn't care. He's just there. He wants what he wants. And also when applying for grants, I thought the point is to make the judges excited about the game. But actually, 10 years ago, now I understand. Publishers, they just want the most upside they can get. Everyone has their own needs. No one's approaching things from the same perspective as you are. And for grant judges, for example, they have deliberate metrics to fill. They're not there to just say, oh, I love this game. It's like they have to fill, what do I think about the marketability, and so on and so on. So it's better to, when approaching people, to understand what their needs are and study them and make sure you approach them from their perspective. I'll give you some examples, okay? This is some news report someone made. Rockstar Games is launching a PC launcher, and the reporter says, I don't understand why we need a launcher because they only have a few games. Do you know what the answer is? Next. It's because GTA make 100 million, so if they make their own launcher, they'd save $30 million. So obviously it's better for them to try. Like, they could spend up to $20 million and still make a profit, even if it fails. And also at the time I was thinking is our game actually good? Because on one hand we had enthusiastic feedback, donations, blah, blah, blah. On the other, we had publisher rejections and this veteran saying we should abandon our game. What I've realized over the years is that it doesn't matter if, you don't need everyone to like your game, but if you have a few people who really like the game, it's about how much do you like the game. If you have a few people who really like the game, enough to actually give you money, donate, tell their friends, wish list, that's a much stronger signal than asking publishers or veterans, because those are who you want to sell it to. And I wish I had more confidence looking back. I didn't know it at the time, but the amount of response that Rhythm Doctor got when I first released it, that's not normal. It's not most games do not get that amount of donations and response. And I didn't know it, so I didn't have the confidence to just say, oh, you know what, we don't need a publisher, you can just go ahead. But it's still worth considering why publishers and veterans said no. So after a bunch of thinking, this is what I think. It's because this kind of game, it doesn't have a strong hook. It's like the main mechanic, as we've seen from the free-to-play game. It's not a strong mechanic. And the way it becomes good is from big set pieces, all the extra effort we have to put into the game. The reason why people buy it, I guess, is because of the great reviews, the meta elements, all this stuff. And this really relies in a team's vision much more than an obviously good game mechanic. But on the other hand, it also means that we could explore some depths that others would not bother exploring because it doesn't seem like a good mechanic. Next. Another case study, there's another game called There Is No Game. I think it's very similar to Rhythm Doctor in that the mechanic is not really hooky, but the Game Jam version was really popular. It was basically it's a game where you are playing with the meta-ness of games. the narrator tells you there is no game and you have to try to start the game. They tried to make a Kickstarter, it didn't do very well, and then when they released it a few years later, so they basically self-funded it. It did really well, and I think there's similarities. Like I said, like these games, they do well as small free games, but they have to prove themselves in the full game. So quality and execution is really important. In 2017, my now friend Kyle, joined as a PR writer. How he joined was he actually did our first fan art of the game. Then we were like, wow, good fan art. And then we were like, do you want to work with this? So in 2017, we had about 7 people. Yakumo, this guy from Peru that we met at GDC, he also worked at a university, so he could hire more people. Sorry, time check, 20 minutes. Okay. After all the monthly levels, people made a Discord. The fans made a Discord, and we ended up hiring a lot of people from the Discord itself. These are some examples. Like Morph made a whole fan-made level editor, so then we put him in programming and game design. Jenny made some of our best custom levels because we had a level editor, and therefore we hired her as level design. It's really, I think this helped us because we didn't have to go through resumes. We had people who already loved the game, so they wouldn't be on a different perspective. Like, we are on the same page in terms of we like the Doctor on collaboration. This is one of the things I've learned as well in the past 14 years. I've collaborated with a lot of people now compared to at the start. I've never collaborated with a person before. I'm gonna show you this quote. I used to wish I had multiple clones of myself to get more things done in a day. It's only later that I realized what a selfish thought that is. Because the reason why you want to work with people is not because you want people who are like you, exactly like you. You want different perspectives, and those are what you should treasure, and those are what you should encourage. I think there are 2 kinds of collaborators you will work with. Anyone here like is an indie developer or wants to be an indie developer? Okay, a few. Okay, these are for you guys. When you eventually make a game and you want to collaborate with people, you'll find 2 kinds of people. Number 1, you are only allowed 3 rounds of feedback. You must be clear exactly what you want. If you want more rounds, pay me. I don't care about your game. And the second kind is the kind of person that goes, oh, let's work to bring things together. Let's have a session for a few hours and kind of hash it out and see where we're going. Treasure the second kind, but don't expect most people to be the second kind. So my problem was that I originally worked with people who were the second kind. It was like really nice and really fun to work with. And then I eventually worked with the first kind, and they were really like annoyed at the way I was working because they said, that wasn't what I expected from this collaboration. So it's good to know that there are different kinds of styles and make sure your expectations are set up front. Also, between trusting your gut and trusting others. Usually when you hire someone, right, maybe they give you something and then you're like, I don't really like this. Should you say something or should you not say something? Overall, I feel like I was happy. I've had more situations when I was happy not to intervene than situations when I pushed back. Your responsibility is making a good game and also building a happy team. It's not just making a good game. So it's okay to let go sometimes. For example, like, sometimes maybe the sprite is blue, but you wish the sprite was red. My rule now is that if you don't have a good reason for articulating why you want it that way, then maybe it's just your taste. And if it's just your taste, then it's not that important. You can let them have their own taste as well. One good question is whenever someone tells you something, whenever someone gives you work that you are not happy with or that wasn't what you wanted, you ask, don't say, I didn't want it like that. Say, may I know why you used this approach? Because maybe they had reasons for it. Maybe there was technical difficulties, or there could be so many things. Maybe they wanted to learn this particular technology. So this is one case study of collaborating. Winston made this guy called Cole, and then later on he changed it to be more simplified and like less colors, just so that the main reason was because we wanted to redraw it to be more proportionate compared to other characters. And then I was like, I liked it. I like how it was before. 9 years ago, I think I was a lot more careless in the moment. I was like, I really liked it, but maybe what if we just scale up the old sprites and make it bigger? And like that's really rude because he just spent his time making a new sprite, and because he's my friend, so I was just talking casually. But I would not do that now. So like I feel like the biggest way my thinking has changed is considering others' perspective more. I'm not sure if it's about just a normal part of maturing. Maybe you can't learn this, but I'd like to tell you all just in case. Yeah, so in the end, we actually went back and forth, and then this is the final sprite. Yes, a bit more detail, a bit more shader, but still using the actual sprites that he made. And then in the end, like there were so many animations to do. So Winston was right about simplifying the designs because it made making a lot more animations more possible. With hindsight, I wouldn't trust my own gut feeling on what is not my expertise so easily, but I still trust my gut feeling on what I know from all these years, what is my expertise, which is game and level design. So it's good to to kind of set expectations properly. So if you're like bringing on someone who's doing level design and game design, you say, oh, I might have like opinions, but yeah, beware of liking something just because you're familiar with it. In 2018, we had a co-working space, which was really good. Thank you to MDEC, if anyone's from MDEC's here. This was really good because we had peers around. This is Winston drawing that same guy on the whiteboard. It's easy to learn stuff you wouldn't otherwise. If you're currently working alone, you might consider maybe joining a co-working space just to get these small benefits. And we got advice from our peers in the co-working space. Shout out to Jeremy. He gave some good advice on story. Winston also joined us for a short while. Okay, so in 2018, we got funding from DCF. This is the Digital Content Fund, which I think was funds up to R1 million. So we're looking at that and we're like, okay, maybe we should try for that. Originally, I asked for 10,000 because I thought we were gonna launch the game like immediately, and that's all we needed. And then someone from MDEC called me. It's like, hey, Hafiz, you asked for 10,000 now. Everyone else is asking for 1 million and hundreds of thousands. You sure you didn't mean 100,000? Then I said, okay, I guess 100,000 it is. So then I added a zero, and then we got our funding. And that funding was really, and in the end, there was a really good idea because Rhythm Doctor took so much longer than than I was expecting. So it's always good for to ask for a bit of buffer. And funding took a lot of pressure from finding publishers, but it also gave us more milestones to hit. So this is just me reporting on what the application was. Even the application itself was so much work that I feel like 10,000 ringgit would almost not have been worth it because it was days of work. It was just be prepared. Be prepared if you apply for a big run, which is good actually though because I've heard stories from other Kementerian, and the amount of corruption you can hear is crazy. But MDEC, everything you have a lot to do, a lot to prove yourself. But also the fact that it's not corrupt, it's crazy good. That's a blessing. This was the example of the expenditures we gave them. So mostly salaries, paying Giacomo, paying Winston, and some music recording, some art. This was our rough level structure at the time.
In addition,
okay, so that's us exhibiting at Comic Fiesta, and this is one of our boss levels, the first boss level I mentioned before. If you notice, it's actually really similar, right, to the guy playing the drums just now. This was 2018 footage. This was our 2014 boss level. It's clear that we were both having independent, similar approaches, pressing the 7th beat, distractions in between. I don't have a lesson for this. It's just interesting. So this is what I wanted to get at from you clapping along to the drums just now. Gameplay is not just the buttons you pressed. It's everything in between. In the drum example just now, you saw that he switched the rhythm to make it harder for you to keep the beat. And that's also gameplay. And it's for those who play rhythm games, you know that it's also about how you press your hand positions, or for long songs about whether you have the stamina. It's in your mental state. It can be in the story. In Rhythm Doctor, at one point, despite being a one-button rhythm game, there's a big major choice you have to do, whether you press the beat or don't press the beat. And what I've realized is that the more restricted your gameplay, the more you actually have space for all these other things to matter more. So this is something Winston drew for me. When you add constraints to your game, for example, it's one button or it can be played blind, it's not cutting your bread out and making a small piece of bread. It's more rolling your bread into a pizza. It's less constraints in one dimension, but more in another. And these constraints actually were the thing that let us make this next slide.
clouds. Oh shit! What happened to my screen?
In 2018, we explored window movement. And this was only possible because
This is
visuals,
what happens. So hold on.
Visuals don't
So
matter
when I
in
quit-
Rhythm Doctor.
It puts me back in full screen. But when I start up the song, it does this. And it puts it over there. Let's see what happens, chat. Let's see what happens. Shit. Oh my god! What? What the? Holy shit! This is on my desktop. It's so sick. Oh my! I have 3 monitors. It's going on every monitor. It's on every monitor.
So this is an example of something that only came about because of our constraints, right? Because we had one-button gameplay and it was playable blind. That means we could do anything we wanted with the game window and wouldn't affect gameplay. But it affects it technically in the sense that it wows you so that you are too wowed to press the button. And that's a really cool, it's a really cool form of gameplay, which only happened because of those constraints. Okay. Yeah, so eventually in 2018, we also released a private pre-order of the game. It had that window moving level, it had some other stuff, some story. Mainly was we wanted to release something new and also get some money. We kept it secret to only the mailing list. And it featured this new level that moved the gameplay window. Kyle and Giacomo were kind of concerned about doing a pre-order because maybe we would get backlash. People would think, oh, these greedy developers, they want money already, the game's not done yet. But my thinking was that all these levels, they existed before as separate things, but no one had actually put them together in a nice package before and made it all playable. So it would still count as something new for people who wanted to buy it. And I feel like it was the goodwill of being in the Discord community that helped this pre-order thing go down well. In the end, we made it semi-secret on purpose, so only people in Discord could see it. Most regulars in the Discord bought it, so we had about 500 units in sales. In 2019, basically back in 2014, I was working on a different game for a game jam called A Dance of Fire and Ice. This was a game that also became kind of popular on Congregate. It's like an online game. And my friends later told me that they would have cloned the game and made it a commercial product if they didn't know it was me who made it. So that maybe made me a bit paranoid. And I was like, okay, maybe we have to finish the game as soon as possible before other people want to clone it. Next.
Welcome to A Dance of Fire and Ice. In this rhythm game, you press every time the planet overlaps with the path.
Yeah, really simple game. Next.
When the path changes shape,
it was actually really stressful to launch. I had shingles for the first time. I didn't even know that was a thing. You can get it if you're stressed. I didn't feel stressed, but my body told me I was stressed apparently, so I guess I was. And that was really interesting as well. Like, your body knows you're stressed before you consciously realize it. We announced it on the Discord. People thought it was good. And for those who don't know, anyone know what game this is? Jak and Daxter. This is where the idea came from, actually. If a game I played when I was 14 years old. You can see it's literally the same thing, but then except it's set to rhythm, of course. In 2019, Adify actually became popular. Lots of streamers picking it up. Faker, this guy, one of the famous people in Korea, plays League of Legends. He played it as well. And we had money coming in, so we didn't need publishers or funding anymore. But instead, all of our time went to fixing Adify and all the bugs. So now we are developing 2 games at the same time. Next. Yeah, so Faker is so good he can play it without even seeing the screen. In 2019, we had to make an apology to fans because people were expecting Rhythm Doctor to finally release in 2019, but that whole year we were just working on this other game. So in the end, we wrote a long explanation. We said, okay, it'll definitely be out in 2020, definitely. And we were like, okay, we must make this. So we started, actually planning things out properly. Before this, we were just kind of just making things as we went along. No real master plan. So we started planning things more professionally, I guess. We started shooting to Notion, so we said by October we must get all these done. By November, all the cutscenes. By December, all bug testing. I was really having a difficult time. The fact that Rhythm Doctor took so long. I told my friend, I was like, I feel like we didn't make any progress at all because there was so much busy work from Adify. We were starting a company, we had all these new tax stuff, and there's just so much. Everyone would ask when Rhythm Doctor was done, and I eventually just stopped meeting anyone just to avoid the questions. In 2020, I had my first panic attack. Anyone had a panic attack before? Okay, glad to see it. Around August of 2020, I realized there was still way too much to do in 4 months, but we had already broken our promises too many times. For those who don't know, a panic attack is when you're lying down in a bed and suddenly your heart rate goes skyrockets like crazy, even though nothing's happening. I didn't know what was happening. But yeah, later I found out it was a panic attack. So in the end, we decided, okay, we're not going to make it by this year, but if we announce a month, maybe that's better. We say, okay, it's definitely going to be out in February 2021. We shuffled levels around to not need a final boss level. We decided, we're going to release it in early access so that some things will be unfinished, but it's still a product that's out there. So these were the hours I worked from 2018 to 2021. The blue ones is Rhythm Doctor, and you can see it goes crazy towards February 2021. That's right before release. This is the biggest crunch I've ever had. I still don't remember anything that happened in February 2021. It's kind of funny if you work really hard with no breaks, your brain like loses the ability to remember what happened because you don't get that downtime where your brain can subconsciously kind of consolidate your memories. Early access launch, we were actually way too busy to even play through it. But our writer Kyle, because he had already written the script, he was able to kind of take things a bit slower, play through the game, mention it, tell us about any bugs and stuff. So it's always really good to have some people who are not as busy, to be able to hold the fort while you're like going crazy trying to finish a game. We had no release trailer at all. Like plans just fell through. Next, I eventually launched it like 7 minutes after the scheduled launch time. Our publisher Indinova had like got all these streamers to get ready to play it like literally right there at 9 p.m. And then we exceeded it by a few minutes, but we eventually got there, and the reception was really good. So this was in the all these commits for those programmers. These were all in the last hours before release. We were like, things were going crazy basically. This was the moment of launch. You know, what do you do when you launch a game? You have to click a launch button, and then you have to type release my app like manually, and then you have to click the release. So eventually it was 7 minutes after launch, and it was really funny because we were on we got a front page on Steam, but we were like a game that released with no release trailer at all. Okay, I think I'll stop for any questions because I think we still have a bit of time.
Good afternoon. I would like to ask, personally, based on your original view of the game vision and the finished product, how many percents can you say that the final product is based on the original one?
Oh, okay, that's a good question. Funnily enough, like almost all the levels, I think almost every single level that we made for the Flash version eventually was in the final game as well. So it used everything from the Flash version. Like the ways it changed was that I think we weren't expecting to make a whole, like for the story to be so important to the game. So at the start I thought it was going to be a simple clone of Rhythm Heaven, funny, like I think the big turning moment for me, right, was when our writer Kyle was right, because every level had a different patient. So in the first level we have a samurai, in the second level we have a boy and girl, and then Kyle was asking me, oh, what does the samurai like to eat? Or you're asking me, oh, how does the boy and the samurai interact with each other? These are things I had never thought of before, ever. Because to me, all these patients were just game mechanics. I never thought, oh, I wonder what the samurai does like to eat. And like this, I think, changed my mindset and like our game direction, because this was where we started to have recurring characters. Characters would interact with each other between levels, and eventually like that led us to the final game being a lot more cohesive and having a good plot.
Rhythm Doctor currently has a Metacritic score of 89, right? And it's only 3 points away from Expedition 33, which has 92. So how do you feel about that?
I guess, yeah, we were pretty happy with that. I think I'll go more into it in the ending part. But I feel like something I'm really grateful for is we actually managed to make a game that ends well. Because this was the thing I was so scared about. I think since 2016, I didn't know how the game was going to end. And yeah, the fact that it ended well after all that made me really happy. Thank you for bringing that up, though. Okay, I think we'll move on. Oh, one more question.
Yeah, I have a question. So, hi, I am. Sure. Hi, I'm Emerson.
Hello.
I'm also basically both of us. We are animators and YouTubers. We run a YouTube channel with over 1 million subscribers.
Oh, nice.
So I'm also curious because I'm curious about your, like, obviously your schedule and how you manage work alongside of when working on this game, alongside with, I guess, your life. Because obviously there must be a lot of crunch in it. Do you ever face burnout when working on this kind of thing? Because for us, animation takes a long time. And it's like a lot of work with a lot of crunch as well. So sometimes I also face burnout, and I wanted to get your, what is your experience with that?
Yeah, I can empathize very much with you. Fortunately, it hasn't been so bad that I've experienced burnout the same way as I've heard other people experience burnout. Like, I have like my writer Kyle, he was actually like one of his side jobs before he did full-time in Rhythm Doctor and in 7-Bit Games was making, like, doing these cartoons for these YouTube channels. I can't remember, like, you know, these YouTube channels, they would make like cartoons based on Halo or based on IP, and then they would hire cartoonists to draw or maybe like, oh yeah, I think it was a Fortnite cartoon kind of thing. Yeah, and then like he got so burned out that he couldn't even pick up a pen for months because he would feel like throwing up when he would like want to pick up a pen. I haven't been in that situation, thankfully. I feel, and Giacomo, my other partner, also told me this. Just having, well, I wouldn't say I have a solution. It's a very it's a very difficult problem, but what I've ended up with is just trying to avoid deadlines whenever possible. Just that's like basically one of the only ways that makes sure that when things get crunchy, we actually still have a bit of time. Like one easy example is like when we had early access, we actually agreed on a specific time for the game to launch, right? But like later on when we did our other updates, we said, okay, no more announcing a time. We just say it's going to be on this day, and then like if you have to take extra time, it's okay. It's still going to be 11:59 p.m. somewhere in GMT minus 90 or something, So like we have a bit more leeway. So always try to give yourself a bit more leeway if you can. I know that sometimes with YouTube, you have the premiere time and stuff, so you're like crunching to make it right, and like you have to. Yeah, it's hard. So I don't have a good. Unfortunately, I don't think I have a good answer to that. But good luck, and I hope you get through it. All right, I think I'm gonna move on to talk about we've got only 10 minutes left, so I'm gonna try to speed through this. This was the final 5 years, the end, I call it. So we released it in early access, it was fine. Next, this is the 2021 to 2025. I'll just have a few smaller lessons to share with you, and then we're done. So 2021, we did various collaborations, Unbeatable, Muse Dash, Bits and Bobs. So rhythm game collaborations are really common. It's because each game gets free music, so you get to make your own level and you get to cross-promote. It's really nice. Like it's one of the things I really like about rhythm games. So we did one collaboration with Muse Dash. Anyone know Muse Dash? Okay, some people do. This was the worst day of my career by far. We had collaborated with Muse Dash and we said we'd release an update, multiple updates on both Rhythm Doctor and Adan Safari Nice at the same time as Muse Dash. So then at the time, because of our time zone difference, the time of launch was like a time when Morph and Giacomo, Morph is our programmer, Giacomo is also our lead programmer. They were not online at the time, so I was trying to handle bugs between two games at the same time. And crunch, when crunch is followed by like a good release, like big praise, you get good Metacritic score, that's really nice. When crunch is followed by an angry mob, that's horrible. That's like, you've crunched, you're tired, and then now people are so angry. That's what happened during Muse Dash because our other fight, because we just put too much on our plate. So now I would always say like we will never promise to update two games at the same time. Never do that. And also, in fact, like nowadays, all our collaborations, when I collaborate with people, I say, you know what, we can't promise that we're gonna release at the same time as your site, but you can do your site first, and then we'll do our site whenever we can. And that has worked out like much healthier. Our quality of work has been much higher. Everyone's happier. So like again, try to avoid deadlines if you can. There are actually more ways to avoid deadlines than you might think, I think. Something else I also learned about game. Okay, unfortunately we're gonna finish soon. I'll just go through this quickly. The power of pacing. This is one of my big game design learnings. Back in 2011, I thought the player just wants the most fun per minute. We must make this game as fun as possible the whole way through. One new mechanic per level. But it was only when talking to Kyle when he wanted to focus on deliberate, slow-paced moments after intense ones. And I'll give you some examples. So this is giving
We'll check in on them
a
tomorrow.
slow pace after
Whenever you're
the
ready,
big boss
Head
level.
back to the main board.
It gives the player control.
Oh my god. This game is so freaking cool. I have never seen that.
And this is really important
ever.
because
Oh my
you
God.
want to give time for if streamers are playing
Oh
a
my
game.
god. Guys,
Okay.
please,
Okay,
please,
next, I guess.
please.
I'm being interrupted. Yeah, so you want to give streamers a time to decompress. You want to give players a time to absorb what they just played. And yeah, it's always good to think about when you need to make the pace slower, whether it's to give relief or to build tension like this one. This is the hallway right before our final boss. So we deliberately made it really long. There's a lot of like story to work through it. So there's like a build-up of tension as you go towards the final boss. And like I think if you think about other games, like something like Undertale, you'll see that they use that as well. Before the final boss, there's a long hallway, there's a lot of exposition. And this is really good. Yeah, back in the day, I was like, oh, we should skip all this, just get to the good part. But now I realize that slow-paced moments are really important. In 2023, we released our Act 5. I think this a lot of people say this was our best update. This is when we shifted to story-first development. This is something else I learned. This might be a bit too much to get into right now, but I read this article called High Variance Management, and I realized, oh, that fits our studio to a T. Basically, the idea is that high variance people are people who are inconsistent in their output, but they will surprise you with like something amazing once or twice a year. And low variance people are people who can work consistently, but you don't expect them to surprise you with something huge. So I think overall, 7-Bit Games is a high variance team. We'll take ages, but we'll make something good. And we can build our workflow around that, just knowing that this is how we are. A lot of people in our team have ADHD, they don't work consistent hours, but then they do like something incredible every few months. This was some tips from the article. Don't ask a high variance team to be consistent. If you know someone who is like that, don't waste their talents on something that needs consistent work, or that doesn't need something that's like super incredible, that's something you've never heard of. The example they give in the article is theater versus movie. So for theater people, they need to give the same performance every day, and they have to make sure they're consistent to consistently give a good performance. But in movies, what you do is you want to take many takes and get as much variance as you can, and then only your best takes will be used for the final shot. And like in the article, there was someone who was a theater actor talking, and they realized that even though when they were trying to do a movie, they realized the people who were most inconsistent were the best at giving a good final take. 2023, inspired by WeirdWorks, we did an employee survey. If you have a company with employees, I really recommend doing employee surveys. Like, you find out a lot of things that you did not know your employees were thinking of, that they just didn't have a platform or like a reason to tell you. Like it's not like they're scared of you, but just like, it just never came up that someone was explicitly asking you, oh, please judge how we've been treating you. And that was really good. So we could tell like from all the responses, people were really, really, really happy with like our game. Like they were so happy with how it came out and like how everyone was doing their best work. They did not enjoy the intense moments, and also they didn't enjoy being not fully aware what's happening. So this directly resulted in us starting sprint meetings and daily updates. And it was our first time doing scheduled synchronous meetings, so where we would all join a voice chat and actually talk about things. We got a project management consultant, their name is Kevin Wong, to teach us how to do sprint meetings, and that was really useful. So yeah, just something that I didn't know would be needed, but actually it was really needed. Next. Also, I think this is the last concept I can explain because I got 5 minutes left. I was reading this book by Tynan Sylvester. He made this game called RimWorld. Anyone heard of it? So in his book, he talks about this two-factor theory of emotion. The core idea is that emotions can be interchangeable. It says it's like the physiology that you feel when you're really scared or really happy or really sad is all the same. Your heart rate goes up. So when you make a game, what you can do is you give an intense gameplay, a difficult section, to make the player's heart rate go up. And then you use the plot to suggest what emotion the player will attach that heart rate to, because humans are susceptible to mislabeling their emotions. So what we do is give a heart level, player's heart rate's up, and then you show them a story about a horror, and then they'll be like, oh, I'm really scared. Even though they weren't really scared, their heart rate was up because of the gameplay. But for humans, it's all interconnected. And this was really interesting because we could explore things like anxiety and fear. So that's what we did in the final few levels of Rhythm Doctor. Because like the freeing part was realizing that to evoke horror, I don't need to use horror gameplay tropes. I don't need to have a sneaky section or a stealth section. No, you can just make the player's heart rate go up with the same mechanics I've always been using, but tie it to the story, which is based in horror, and then players will feel anxiety and fear, which they did. Yeah, this is what our final organization looked like. So like we started to use Notion. Every level must have a lead and a VFX lead, and those were people in charge. So one thing I learned that's really important, to stop getting tasks like just be forgotten by everyone, is every task should be assigned to one person, so that it's that person's responsibility to make sure it gets done. This was our checklist of like the final release checklist we had. So we have like a bunch of things that we know. Like checklists are really good, especially right before launch, because there'll always be some things that you forget, and having something to look through is really useful. We're releasing X67, so our designers put the 6-7 meme. This was Act 6 and 7 of Rhythm Doctor. And this was the final release of Rhythm Doctor. This was the final level. I'll let this guy, Jacob Jeller, talk about it instead of me. Play the video.
During my time playing Rhythm Doctor, I've been searching for why exactly I find its window trick so compelling. I have seen much more expensive games do much more technically impressive things with animation and with camera moves, but these screens of Rhythm Doctor dancing in front of me give me a feeling far beyond those titles. And it's in the final boss that I realize, yes, it is a performance. When I play other games, I am participating in an animation, but here I am part of choreography. The program itself has learned to dance.
Get set, go. 3, 4, 3, 6.
Over the next several minutes, what Rhythm Doctor does not only justifies its development time, it makes me wonder how the game only took this long to release. Every plot thread comes back through, every rhythm is woven into this tapestry, and the choreography just gets more and more complex. I can't even keep up here. At one point, 2 doctors are trapped in separate windows, and so the samurai shows up and smashes the screens into each other. At another point, the lovesick kid jumps from his window into his crushes. At one point, and I need to slow down here so you really understand, at one point, the window the DJ is playing in fully disappears, and just his sprite, plummets downwards towards the bottom of the desktop, and your hand, the one that's just been pressing a single button the whole time, reaches out to catch him. And then he whips out an electric guitar, and the windows are flying across the screen, and fireworks are exploding on your desktop, and it's just the greatest fucking thing I've ever seen.
So that was our final boss level of Rhythm Doctor for those who haven't played it. So in the end, looking back, right, this was a piece-by-piece release method. We had so many different releases. It was really good because of these reasons. Sorry, my time is up, so I don't think I can go through them. Next. So at the start, I thought I was making a Rhythm Heaven clone with dialogue. It's all about one-button gameplay. By the end, I realized we were actually making a whole story told through music. And all these visuals, so at the start I thought visuals were not important because the game can be played blind, but actually the visuals end up to be one of the most important things because that's what sets the game apart from everything else. So 2 weeks of summer, this was me and Winston when he started. I told him, this game would be 2 weeks in the summer. It turned out to be 14 years of development. And that's the story of Rhythm Doctor. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it. Credits, everyone involved in Rhythm Doctor. And all the art here was done by Winston, of course, in the presentation. Thank you.